Futuros Abundantes is the name of the exhibition that will celebrate TBA 21's 20th anniversary. In fact, the foundation has been established in 2002 in Vienna and since had a long trajectory. It will celebrate the collaborations with artists, the different visions that have developed over those 20 years, but also it's an exhibition that wants to be in conversation with this wonderful city of Córdoba. So we are starting the exhibition on April 1st in the C3A on the other side of the river, this beautiful building that is a gift to the city. And from there, we want to enter into different collaborations with institutions such as Ciudad de las Ideas, La Plata, different groups of artists in the city and different sites where these ideas can come to fruition and really enter, let's say, into the fabric of this wonderful and ancient city. So I'm very humbled by being able to do that, and I'm almost too excited to speak about it. So what is Futuros Abundantes and why Abundancia? So there is, of course, celebration. There is 20th anniversary of deep collaboration, so it's a moment of joy and positivity in a difficult moment of human history. But other than that, I think the proposition that abundance holds on economical, political, social, artistic grounds has not yet been so fully explored. And why so? I will give you a few examples. The idea of scarcity, right, which is the negativity of abundance, has been the driving idea of economics for at least 150 years. There's this idea which is called the Malthusian catastrophe, developed by an economist who says everything on the planet is scarce, right? Resources are scarce, everything only exists in a limited way. And because it's limited, we humans must be living in scarcity, right? Everything must be distributed, so that there's not too much population, there are not too many people fighting over the same resources. This idea, it's a quite old idea, has been driving economics for a long time. Think about the crisis of 2008. What happened there? Everything was based on reduction, restriction, public budgets, public funding, going into less resource distribution. We think at TBA 21, we need to change that paradigm and start thinking life, and life is what brings us here on the planet, and I mean biological life, as the possibility of multiplication, of generation of difference, of creating many worlds, from the world we live in. So that is what abundance brings: generative processes, creativity, change, engagement. And I really want to engage a different group of thinkers, as I said, political thinker, economical thinker, to really help us unpack this wild idea, because it's wild, right? It's dangerous. It has full of kind of pitfalls in some ways, this wild idea of abundance. So what works are we going to see? A lot from many, many generations of artists, from many places, artists dealing with nature, as we would call it, culture nature, as some other people call it, artists dealing also with scarcity, the lack of abundance, what happens when this idea of abundance collapses, and beautiful, beautiful propositions and visual works that will help us just to dive deep into these amazing worlds and imaginaries of abundance. I will start again from myself and from my interest. So as you could hear, I'm very interested in this idea of redistribution. I'm interested in the redistribution of ideas, right? From, let's say, ideas that are very canonic, very much defining Western thought, how we think, how we've been educated, the hierarchy of ideas, what is on top of that. I think as a curator, we work very much in constellations, in putting things together in space. One talks to the other, right? This piece talks to the other. Maybe this piece was created 20 years ago, and this one was made yesterday. This artist is from Argentina, this artist is from Spain, right? So we create constellations that redistribute meaning through conversations and dialogues. So what I call, together with many other thinkers, this moment from oneness to multiplicity. And this is very much at the core of Abundant Future also. But I think this has been a very exciting dimension in curatorship in general. The worlds have opened up. We have been able to be in conversation with indigenous nations in the Amazon. We have been able to be in conversation with Mapuche leaders in Chile. We have also been able to be in some form of conversations with communities that for a very long time have not participated in the museum world, in the art world, which doesn't mean they did not have culture. Quite the contrary, very strong cultural traditions, expressions. But the way, as I said, the world is segmented into different, I would say more horizontal, no? Segment looks more horizontal compartments, museums at the top, right? Local communities, social groups on the bottom. I'm interested in that possibility of dialoguing with these very, very different communities, nations, cultures, but dialoguing not in symbolic ways, but truly in finding out what they want, how they want to enter the discourse, what they want to bring to the table today in this moment of cosmopolitics or cosmopoetics, no, cosmopoetica here in Córdoba, beautiful title, because we are really in a moment where the poetical, right, the ethics of the poetics are very importantly contributing to this moment of change and of looking for meaning that we are undergoing collectively. I have been very invested in artists who are working with questions of ecology. And ecology is, of course, a very broad term, but basically I am very excited by the possibility of thinking, let's say, urban cohabitation, right, the way cities function today. In Europe, 70, almost 80% of the population live in cities with what we call agriculture, what we call ecological life, what we call biodiversity. I think it is an existential question to bring these realms together, to create a greater understanding that we can no longer separate what is culture from what is nature, that we need to find points of conversations and true cohabitation, in these very different practices. And I'm very excited that biologists, indigenous groups, activist groups, I'm very, very excited by working here in Córdoba with Plata, with Culturaza, with many groups who have been very strongly invested into those questions, and hopefully also be able to bring also to Córdoba, or to support initiatives that exist here in Córdoba, and together work towards not only speaking about the things, but really finding a plot of land where we can exercise and teach and work with communities so that they also get engaged in this conversation about nature, culture, and how to make our cities not only more livable, but make them really eco-poetic cities in the future. And I believe that by that, we also perform not only, let's say, a role in changing biodiversity, but also a very strong social function in attracting various social groups and communities to museums and vice versa. I think we spoke about the transformation of cities, and I'm very much joining my colleagues, Carlos, Fernando, Anna, in really celebrating the vision and contribution of artists in participating in this discussion on the future of cities. I think the future of cities is not going to be determined by administrative or as we call it, bureaucratic structures, but the future of cities is very much in the hand of citizens. And citizens have their own visions of their future, their life forms, and I think artists can help to direct the way and show a little bit directions left and right of the various possibilities we have as communities to think about our futures and make proposals which are exciting and perhaps a little bit different from what we hear sometimes when it is going through the political apparatus. So I'm very much, I'm very excited by the possibilities of thinking together with this group of amazing artists, guests, singers. Niño de Elche yesterday, fantastic. I'm really excited to be able to participate in this conversation.